What's up, everybody? So tonight I have a bunch of subframe parts and trailing arm parts that we're going to be making all the gussets for them. So I know I could have bought them, but I have a plasma table and I have metal, so why not just make them? So stay tuned and watch what I do. If anybody wants any of these files, DM me and you're more than welcome to anything I make. So what I got here is Z3 rear control arms. I have a Z3 rear beam that I'm going to strengthen, and I also have E30 front subframe that I'm going to make all the mounting plates and the stiffeners for it. So I'm going to start with the rear trailing arms first, make the gusset for the big opening. I'm going to make a gusset for the rear bearing housing, and then I'm also going to make a brace for this bolt right here for the shock. I might even do a bolt-on double shear bracket. I'm not sure yet. The only reason why I say that is because the bolt that I took off from a factory Z3 with stock suspension had bent bolts in it. So when I draw this, basically this is just a big triangle. Very easy to draw. You could go all the way back to the center point of the triangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure here, figure out what this is, measure up to a certain point, mark that here, measure up to a certain point here, mark that here, and then measure across. And I can draw all in that with just those, this dimension, this 4 dimensions, you can draw this whole thing. So let's get started. So we got our measurements across here. I'm leaving a little gap, get piled up in here on our off-road stuff. When there's filled in, it gets to deal with that. So I'm leaving a little opening at the bottom. That's 3.5. To here is 7, and to here is 9, 10 across width. So we're gonna put it in the machine. I'm not gonna just do a flat plate. I'm gonna try to do a little bracing in it, and then that way it'll give the same strength, but it won't be as heavy as doing a flat plate. And it'll give it a little style too. So let's see what I can draw in Fusion. All right, so we're in Fusion. Let's start with, so I have some scrap pieces of steel, cold rolled, 100,000. So I'm gonna start with these. This way I don't have to cut anything on the machine out of a big plate. So I already have these, so let's see what the dimensions are of this. So it's 12 by 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a square that's 12 by 10. And that's our material. So we know that whatever we draw, if it fits in here, it's going to fit on our plate. So the first thing, all right, so we have our measurements. Now we're going to go and try this. I cut it out. I took a little lightning holes in it. I did have to put bend reliefs in it. So here, this brake is not really the best for mild steel, but I did put relief cuts in, so it should bend fine. And I don't feel like driving to my shop to bend this on that. So let's draw the other stuff now. So for the shock mount, the first thing I'm gonna start out is with the shock bolt hole. So we know that is 1.1/8. So 1 point, normally it'd be 2.5. I'm gonna give it a little clearance, so I'm gonna do 1.3. So that's where the shock bolt would go, right in the center of that. So now I'm gonna go to the bottom of it. So we are gonna start with it being 5 inches away. All right, so we got them all drawn out. So we're gonna go over to the plasma table. I'm gonna cut one set out real quick before I go crazy, and then to make sure everything fits so I don't waste material, and then move on to the next one. All right, let's go clean these up and see if they fit. All right, so on the lower brace, I don't think you can get much better of a fit than that. So measuring on that came out perfect. The shock tab, it looks like I'm gonna be making that again. It's definitely off, so I saw what I have to do. I'll show you in a second, and then I just have to change the bracket a little and make it work. All right, so on the shock mount, you can see I'm about 3/8 of an inch on the top, and for some reason it wants to be like that. So there's two ways I can do it. I can actually just cut this and fit it on, which I think I might try real quick and see what it looks like. All right, so the gusset works after a little trimming. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go put it on the bench, clean it up, and I'm gonna weld this one up. It's kind of getting late tonight, so I'll finish all this tomorrow, but I'll keep this one video. So day 2, actually day 3 for me, but day 2 for you. So we got our diff cover, our E30 diff cover. We got our rev shift bushings. I got our mid-size housing E28 diff with limited slip in it. So I'm gonna finish that up. I'm gonna finish up welding all those gussets on, and then hopefully this weekend we can get all this installed, and the rear end will be a roller. So one thing with these, you definitely have to lube them up. When you hear squeaking, that's actually the metal wearing on this. So the squeaking is actually this wearing. So you want to make sure this is lubed up good. So I'm going to lube up the outside. So I could press this in, but because I have it painted white, I don't want to mess it up on a press. So I'm just going to try tapping this in and see if it works. If not, I'll take it to the press next door. I've seen multiple people do it with it tapped in. So hopefully it works. And if not, I'll either take it next door to the press or I'll put it in the vise. So half done putting them out. So now we have the aluminum bushing. This same thing, you gotta make sure it's all lubed up. So it pushed in good, went straight. So now let's bring the diff over here, get this installed, glued in, and we'll get it all bolted together. So we got the diff up here, and as you can see, limited slip. So it was a good thing. The tag, you could barely read the S on it, so I didn't think it was, and I was gonna order like a phantom grip for this because I didn't want to spend a bunch of money for them, but I was quite surprised when I opened it up and it was a diff in it. So now let's bolt this thing together, the back housing, and I'm waiting for the seals to come in for this because I'm going to reseal the drive shaft flanges and the front flange, the pinion yoke. So this thing should be pretty good for a little bit. So there was a paper gasket on this before. I'm not going to use that again. We used to race Jeeps with Ultra 4, and we've tried every RTV for the front diff covers and never had any luck until we found this. So this is Dow Seal. This stuff, we've smashed into stuff and it hasn't come off. Every race before this that we would go to would leak oil in our trailer, no matter what. We had a special tarp for when it was coming home, But after this, we never had a leak. So I'm using this. This stuff is like bomb proof. So I don't know if you could read it good because this one was a little messed up, but it is expensive, but it is worth it. So I'm also going to use red Loctite because he's going to be drifting this thing, so I don't want this to come loose since it's the rear end bolts. So a couple drips. I could have put this on the bolts, but with the sealant on it, sometimes the sealant gets on it first, so. So we got the diff all bolted together. It needs oil and the seals for it. So those will be here on Saturday. Hopefully I can put those in quick and then get this thing in the car. But let's take a look at it real quick. So we got the other Z3 arm up here. I'm not going to waste your time with me going step by step on this one. You can see this one go now. So we got the other A-arm done. So both A-arms are done. So now all we have left is the rear subframe to gusset. That one I have to wait for the camber adjustment before I can paint it. So I'm going to do the gussets tonight, wait for the camber adjusters or pieces to weld on. They'll be here hopefully Saturday too. And then the front subframe, and then that will be it. So a lot of metal going into this thing. I hope my son appreciates it. All right, so now we're on to the rear subframe. So this is a Z3 rear subframe. The camber and toe brackets will be in on Saturday. So those I'm going to wait, but I'm going to reinforce the diff mounts. The other thing that I'm going to do is on these sides of the diff mounts, most people just do this area. When I do them, I go all the way back to the beam and go across. So you'll see how they come out. Hopefully you like it. If you like the way this looks, just DM me. I'll send you a file. You're more than welcome to use it. So let's get started cleaning this up. Alright, so we got these all sanded and we're going to start measuring this stuff out. So the first one I'm going to do is measure the center of this. And I'm going to make mine, some people just make the top piece. I make mine bend over a little so it goes up to here and then bends down and then gets welded all the way around to stiffen this up. On these, I'm just going to draw some or cut out some cardboard templates that go all the way up to here and then back down. And I like these better because they attach to the beam instead of just right here. That gives this a little more structure. It's almost like putting a gusset on this so this can't twist like this. But let's get moving on this. So instead of trying to measure the whole center, like just guessing in the middle, there's an easy way to do it. If you grab one side of the hole and then get to the other side, that will give you your center. So because you're measuring on one side and the opposite side of the other one, it will give you the center line of where this will end up. So there's a bunch of scribbles and numbers, but to me this makes sense, and it's basically like writing shorthand. So I know what this means. Now when I go over to the machine, I don't have to like physically draw this out on this piece of paper, move over there. I have the dimensions. I can put them in the computer and it will come out exactly how I want. After this one, we're going to do this one. Now I'm going to do the cardboard template for it. And a lot of times this works better than trying to measure this 100 times, get the angle, because this is curved this way, this is curved this way. So basically what I'm going to do, let's see, is I'm going to start with a very gradual curve. And that is almost the exact curve. So what you can do is you can force it down there and then just rub your finger on it. And that will give you a line. So I'm going to start with it. I'm going to start over from this and then just gradually you can also take this and rub it. What that does is now you can see where this ground is. Also what works good is if you're on top of this and trying to make a mark, if your hands, I mean they're going to be dirty because you're working with metal. So if your hands are dirty, you could come over the top of it and rub your finger across it and that will give you your line. My hands aren't that dirty, but I can see that very, very good. So you got to use the tools that you have. So I use the end of the Sharpie to poke the hole. So now I can see where this is. So realistically, I want to gusset this in line. So if I drew a line up to here, I would want to be over here and make it stop over here. You'll get the better idea as I cut this out. So basically this is the idea of it. And what I'm going to do is, because this is basically straight, so I'm going to draw a circle at the bottom. It's not going to be this crazy. If you measure this, so there's like a 1/2 inch around the bolt hole. So I'm going to draw the bolt hole with clearance, offset it to a 1/2 inch, so there's a circle around this that's a 1/2 inch bigger, and that's going to be this piece. Draw a straight line up, figure out this angle right here, and then I pretty much have this all drawn. So just once you learn to do the drawings, it's just, there's little tips and tricks you can do to make it go faster. But again, this is a huge gusset for in here now, instead of just being this area right here. All right, so we got fusion up. Now let's start with a new screen, and let's start with that back rear gusset. So I'm going to go up here to drawing, pick my plane. Now the first thing I got to do is, the one thing I didn't do is measure the bolt size, which I'm thinking they're 12 millimeter, but I'm just going to make sure and double check, but that would suck. So we're ready to cut. I put my glasses on and let's go. So they're all cut out now. Let's take them over the bench, clean them up, and see if they fit. Alright, so let's see if it fits. So I poked this first piece on, and I thought this hump was in the middle of it, but it's actually offset. So if you can see, I did it to the center, but it's actually offset, which isn't a big deal. There's enough to weld around here, so I'm fine with that. You know, it would be nice. I could always weld this and then grind this so it's the same. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. I'll cross that bridge. I debated recutting this out, but it is what it is, and for what this is gonna do, I'm fine with it. It comes down to, if this was a customer car, I'd definitely recut this. But because it's my son's car and I went a little overboard on this thing, and I'm trying to reel it back in. So this is fine for him. So I'll probably just sand this so it looks the same. So if anybody ever took this off, they'd be like, oh, somebody reinforced it. But these other pieces, all right, so the other pieces I think came out really good. I just need to do a little more grinding up here so it's good to weld. But if you take a look, actually, so if you take a look, they came out awesome. And now you can see that you get to weld onto the beam, which this gussets this whole area instead of just reinforcing the bolt. So it's just little things that make a difference. One last tip for welding. The smaller the tacks around your piece, the better your weld is going to be. When you go around, you won't have a little hump. The smaller you can make those tacks, especially on like this stuff, it's thicker so you can smooth it out. But exhaust tubing, stainless, especially titanium, where you see those little bumps or it gets wider, it's because there was a tack there. So I just wanted to show you this before I welded it, the fit of that. It came up awesome. I had to grind a little bit right here because of the little bump out right there. I have it bolted down tight. I'm gonna weld this thing up solid. And then this is how the other one came out. Came out super nice, super consistent. You can see how consistent the heat zone is. There's no big or small area where the heat changed or the penetration changed. That's the big thing with welding, keep it consistent. So I got the back done. Tell me what you think. So I just looked at the clock and realized what time it is. And I have to be up at 5 in the morning for the firehouse tomorrow. So in this video I got the control arms done, the diff done, the rear subframe done, and the front subframe prepped. So I think I did a decent amount of work. Let's take a look at the front subframe. So I just cleaned it up. Ready to weld, and then this thing came out sweet. So there is one thing I have to do on the control arms, and that's just reinforce the sway bar mount. But that's it for me tonight. I'll try to get this up tomorrow or the next day. So if you like what I'm doing, like, comment, and subscribe.